Hello everyone. God, I cannot believe it's December already. It feels like just yesterday I was celebrating New Year's. Actually, I think it was yesterday I was celebrating New Year's, probably. This time is just going by really fast. And also because I started the channel this year. But anyway, yeah, it's December and I want an excuse to wear this shirt because it's cold. So I'm like, oh, it's a cute penguin shirt. And also it's red. So red for December. So as you can see by the title of the video, this video is about 5 positive things about being single, which I know a lot of people need because there's so many places and people and society in general are like, a relationship is like the happiest time of your life. Like there's no better or happier time than being in a relationship. But then there's also people who are like, it's so terrible dating people, such a headache, so much stress. And I'm like, okay, there has to be some kind of middle ground here. Like, what are the 5 positive things about being single? So I'm going to tell you guys 5 positive things about being single. Because, like I said, I know a lot of people probably really need to hear this. Okay, so that's a lot better. The first one is actually my favorite one. One of my favorite reasons about being single. And I don't know why I'm laughing. Like my... When you're single, you get to save money. Like, you don't have to spend money on gifts. I mean, you can buy gifts to your family and friends, too. I mean, that's nice. Not even, like, gifts and stuff. Like, you don't have to spend money on, like, makeup and things like that because you're not trying to impress anybody. And also, if you wear makeup, they should like you without makeup, too. But, like, yeah, you don't have to buy all that stuff, just to impress them. The only person you should really be impressing is yourself. Makeup or no makeup, you know what I mean? I'm not greedy, I promise. I'm just, I just like having my own money, So that's what's good about being single. You handle your own money and you save money. So number 2 is my favorite also. I mean, I like this entire list. But the second reason is that there's no expectations. Based on what my friends have told me, that when you're in a relationship, there's like a certain amount of expectation. You have to impress the person and you have to be on your best behavior at all times, which is, I generally agree with that because you should be. But also, there's a lot of pressure about it too. Because, there's a certain like vulnerability about being in a relationship that you don't need when you're by yourself. You only expect what's expected of you. Maybe you get shy around strangers, or maybe you say the wrong thing, or maybe, you have maybe like a bad hair day or something, I don't know. Like something that makes you insecure. When you're single, you don't have to have that expectation. You don't have to push yourself for someone else. Like, you should only push yourself for yourself. With your friends or with your family, you can just do and say what you can't do and say whatever. Like, if you do something wrong, you should probably say you're sorry. But in general, if you make a mistake, your friends and family will usually forgive you. Someone who's in a relationship might think like, oh, I have to do this for this person, like, what if they break up with me because I did this or something like that. Some people, not all of them, but some people, they worry a lot when they're in that kind of relationship, which is, and from what I hear, that's not a good one to be in the first place. You should both trust each other, but I think you know where I'm going with this. What kind of relationship is that if you have to change yourself just to be with somebody? Like, someone should like you for who you are, and if they don't, whatever. Although that explains a lot. The nice thing about being single is that, you can do stuff like that. If you're shy, you're like you can be like, oh, maybe I should do better next time. But, I will do better next time. I'll try to make my way more enthusiastic. And I'll try to speak a little bit more. That is good because that's improving yourself. And anyone who judges you for being scared the first time you meet them, someone like that you don't need in your life anyway, as a friend or otherwise. So that's why it's good to be single. You expect the best of yourself. And you might mess up sometimes, but you'll get back up again. And other people expect you to be this like otherworldly figure just based on how you look maybe, which is not nice. So yeah. Sorry if this is a little rambly. I had a little trouble getting the reasoning in, but anything to fill time. So number 3, and I'm gonna say this right now, I know I should have said it earlier, but most of these reasons are like self-reflecting, self-reflectory, self-reflection. they're all about yourself, so they're not really like, they're not too much different from each other. So the third reason is that you get to focus on yourself when you're single, which is really nice because you're not spending time thinking about, oh, what will I wear on the date this week? Or, you know, something bad happens to them and like they're going through a rough time, you're like, oh, I hope they're okay. You know, I mean, I know this sounds really selfish, but you know, you have all that time for yourself. You don't have to worry about anybody else but yourself. You know, the only thing you're thinking is, did I pay that bill, or did I go to the bank like I said I would, or was I nice to people today? Was I friendly? Was I too quiet? Did I remember to turn off the stove? Did I do some good stuff today? Did I make people happy? You know, just stuff about yourself. You know, what makes you feel good. And like I said, I know this sounds really, really selfish, but you know, it feels like such a freeing thing not to worry about anybody else but yourself. You know what I mean? Like there's no other word to describe it besides like freedom. Like you're just focusing on yourself. Yeah. So the fourth reason is that when you're single, you have no one else to build you up except yourself. I mean, there's friends and family members, but for the most part, you know, when you're single, the only person you're depending on is yourself. That is really good for a lot of people because it raises their self-esteem, you know, because you're telling yourself, I'm a good person, I look fine, there's nothing wrong with me, I can do this. Like, let's say your partner, like, you have a bad day, and, you know, you feel really exhausted, and you feel really bad, and then your partner sits you down, and they say, oh, you're great, you're amazing, you know, don't even worry about it, you know. But when you're single, you have to tell that stuff to yourself. You have to build yourself up. You have to make yourself feel better in a bunch of different ways. And, you know, it's really nice because, you know, it means you can rely on yourself. You can be more self-reliant. Because, you know, a lot of people, from what I've seen, you know, like when they break up with someone, they don't have that person reassuring them anymore. They don't know who they are. They're like, who am I? Like, I have no worth because I'm not with anybody anymore. And that's not true. You know, you're still the same good person that you were before. But you really should work on raising your own self-esteem and, you know, telling yourself nice things about yourself because that's really helpful, especially because, you know, who else is going to know you longer besides yourself, right? And, you know, honestly, I think I could probably use that advice too. So finally, we're at number 5, you know, with all the similar reasons that I had before. But this one is also probably, I think, the most important thing. I mean, they're all pretty important, like I said before, but this one is, I just like all these reasons, but number 5 is you get to treasure your friendships. And you can do this when you're in a relationship too, from what I've heard. But like there's some people who, when they get into a relationship with somebody, they completely ignore everybody else and they're like, this person is the only thing that matters. You know what I mean? Which is not good either way. But, you know, from what I've heard, if you're in a good relationship, you're focusing on your friends and your partner at the same time. But there, like I said, some people, they don't do that. They only focus on one thing. So I think it's all about balance, probably, from what I can see. Yeah. So yeah, single people, more friendship. People in relationships, you know, depending on the person, they're like partner, friendships, or they're friendships and their partner, which is how it should be. So yeah, that was the 5 positive reasons about being single. The most important thing about yourself is making yourself happy, you know? Because, you know, people, they're like, oh, relationships are so nice, and, you know, I'm sure, you know, maybe they are, but, you know, I think the most important person in your life is yourself, because you're going to be with yourself your whole life. You know, no one's going to stay with you longer besides yourself, so you might as well, you know, love yourself. So yeah, I hope you guys have a really good week, day, year, New Year, holiday, whatever you celebrate. And, you know, maybe I'll make some more videos. And yeah. So until next time, bye!